My husband invited his entire family to watch as he presented me with divorce papers on my birthday. His father said loudly, "We never thought he'd marry someone so beneath him." 1 year later, my phone blew up with 10 missed calls. It was supposed to be a simple birthday, one of those days I'd spend celebrating myself. I didn't expect anything extravagant, maybe a glass of wine with friends and a quiet evening at home. But Michael had other plans. Michael, my husband of 5 years, had been distant for a while. His work was his priority, and we'd barely spent any quality time together for months. But even with that distance, I was blindsided when he invited his entire family to our home to celebrate my birthday. As I opened the door to greet him, I was immediately struck by the tension in the air. Behind Michael stood his parents, siblings, and cousins, his whole family, with smiles that didn't quite reach their eyes. "What's going on?" I asked, feeling my stomach tighten. Then, with the coldest of smiles, Michael stood up, taking the center stage as if it was all rehearsed. "Surprise," he said. "I'm leaving you. I'm filing for divorce. I'm doing it for someone who isn't a disappointment." The words hit me like a freight train. My hands trembled as I looked at his family, his father, smirking, his mother, shaking her head in approval. I couldn't breathe. Beneath him? I thought, swallowing hard. A disappointment? His father, still sitting comfortably in his armchair, chuckled. "We never thought he'd marry someone so beneath him." The tears I tried to hold back refused to stay hidden. But instead of falling apart, I signed the divorce papers. My mind was foggy, numb. I wanted them all to leave, to get out of my sight. That night, I sat in the empty house, staring at the divorce papers. The humiliation was intense. But as the shock began to wear off, I felt something else rise inside me. Anger. And a cold, calculated sense of power. I wasn't going to let this defeat me. I was going to make Michael regret this. The first few months after the divorce were the hardest. I stayed in the house, surrounded by memories of the life I thought I would have. But as time passed, I realized how much I had been holding myself back. I threw myself into my career, focusing on work as a way to fill the empty space. Slowly but surely, I started to feel like myself again, strong, independent, and free from the man who had discarded me. Meanwhile, Michael's life began to fall apart. I heard rumors through friends and even social media that things weren't going as well as he had expected. The woman he had left me for, Amanda, was nowhere to be found. I heard she had gotten cold feet when things started to get tough. And tough it certainly got. Michael had been riding high on his success. He had a high-paying job at a prestigious company, and everything seemed easy for him. But within a few months of our divorce, Michael's career came crashing down. His company was investigated for fraud, and his role in the scandal became public knowledge. Amanda, who had once been eager to take on the role of his partner in crime, didn't stick around when the money started drying up. She didn't want a man who was suddenly looking at a tarnished career and financial instability. She left him just as quickly as she had entered his life, leaving Michael completely alone. I couldn't help but feel a bit of satisfaction when I heard the news. Michael had everything when he left me, and now he had nothing. He had been so sure of himself, so convinced that life would be better with someone else. But now, he was facing the harsh reality that he'd lost everything. By the time 6 months had passed since the divorce, Michael's fall from grace was complete. His savings were gone, his career was ruined, and his new girlfriend had dumped him. The apartment he had rented was taken away. The car that he flaunted to his friends and family was repossessed. And the family that once supported him now barely spoke to him. His father, who had always looked down on me, called me a disappointment, now referred to Michael as a disgrace. Every time Michael called his parents for help, they brushed him off, reminding him that he had made his choices. His mother, who had once praised him for being such a successful and smart man, now barely acknowledged him. His siblings, who had always been too busy with their own lives to pay much attention, began to distance themselves. No one wanted to be associated with a failure. It wasn't just Michael's career that fell apart, it was his entire identity. He had spent so many years building his life on the approval of others, on the perception that he was better than everyone else, that when everything crumbled, he had no idea how to survive without that validation. The worst part, though? The worst part was that he couldn't even return to me for comfort. After everything he had done to me, he had no place to turn. He had lost everything, his career, his reputation, and even his family. He was truly alone. Then one day, I woke up to 10 missed calls. I didn't recognize the number, but something told me to pick when my phone rang again. Emma, Michael's voice came through, rough and broken. Please, just listen to me. I almost hung up. What did he want? After everything he had done, what was left to say? I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I need your help. I have nowhere to go. Please, can we talk? I leaned back in my chair, my heart racing not with excitement, but with a sense of power. This was it. The moment I had been waiting for. The man who had humiliated me in front of everyone now needed me. I was calm, my voice steady as I said, Michael, you can't be serious. You've already destroyed everything. Why should I help you now? I didn't know what I had. I was an idiot. I thought I could have everything, but I lost everything. I don't know where to go. I don't have anyone anymore. And then he said it, the one thing that made my blood run cold with satisfaction. I'm living in my car. I smiled to myself. The mighty had fallen. But I didn't want to just leave him there begging. No, I wanted him to know how it felt to lose everything. To be nothing. I'll meet you, I said, my voice smooth and cold. How about that restaurant? You remember the place where we had our first date? I knew he would jump at the chance. I'll be there. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for giving me a chance. When I arrived at the restaurant, I was already seated. I took my time, ordering a drink, looking at my phone, and enjoying the moment. Michael walked in not long after, looking disheveled and exhausted. The man who had once been so sure of himself now seemed like a shadow of his former self. He had nothing left but desperation. Emma, you came, he said, his voice full of relief as he sat down across from me. I've been so stupid. I'm sorry. Please. I need to fix this. I know I messed up. I didn't know what I had with you. I'm sorry. I watched him, my eyes cold. His words fell on me like rain, and for a moment, I felt nothing. You think you can just show up after everything you've done? I said slowly. After how you humiliated me in front of everyone. After everything you've taken from me? I didn't know, he said, his voice cracking. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was making the right choice, but I was wrong. I was an idiot. I let him ramble on, but I wasn't listening anymore. I had already made my decision. I've been doing just fine, Michael. Better than you ever could have imagined, I said, my voice smooth. While you've been wallowing in your car, I've been thriving. You lost everything. Your job, your reputation, your family. Even Amanda left you. His face fell. How do you know about Amanda? I leaned forward, a grin forming on my lips. I know everything. And guess what, Michael? I've made sure the world knows everything too. I pulled out my phone and showed him the first few messages. The article exposing Michael's financial scandals, his professional deceit, and the lies he had lived by. You see, Michael, you thought you had it all. But now you're the joke. You're the man who had everything and threw it away. His face turned red with anger and shame. You did this? You really did this to me. I did, I said with a smile. And trust me, it's just the beginning. You'll never forget how you treated me. And you'll never be able to come back from this. As I stood to leave, I added one last thing. You're right about one thing, Michael. You were an idiot. But now, you'll know what it feels like to lose everything. In the following weeks, everything Michael had worked so hard to protect continued to crumble. His financial ruin became public knowledge. His former colleagues started avoiding him, and his family, who had once sided with him, finally turned their backs. His father, once proud of his son's success, called him a disgrace and refused to speak to him. Meanwhile, I moved forward with my life. I'd found peace, strength, and independence. Michael had lost everything, and I had everything I needed. As for Michael, he learned the hard way that when you betray someone, you don't just lose them, you lose everything. Sometimes, revenge is loud, public, and powerful. Michael thought he could walk away from me without consequence. But in the end, it wasn't just him who lost. It was everyone who ever believed in his lies.